have something in common. I hope I convince my study partner the same.
Life's easier when under control.
You're not alone, partner.
You will cut the crap and start talking.
I don't want to just survive. I want justice.
Why wasn't I told about this?
Oh, Christina. Once again, she's dodging accountability and pointing fingers everywhere but at herself. Newsflash, the tragedy she's crying injustice over. Yeah, she caused it. Maybe if she had kept her temper in check, her child would still be here. But no, let's blame everyone else instead. Classic Christina. Now let's talk custody wars because things are heating up. Jason has rights, and you can bet he's not going to sit back and let Danny be raised by Drew of all people. And Alexis, she's got no business keeping Jason's son from him. Did we forget how Sam pulled a similar stunt before? A custody battle is practically inevitable, and Jason isn't the type to lose. Honestly, Dante should just keep the kids. They've been living as a family all this time, so why rip them apart now? Also, can someone explain why Alexis and Molly didn't think to bring up Diane when discussing Sam's will? Hello, Diane's the go-to lawyer. Even if Alexis was still disbarred when Jason returned, we all know Sam would have updated her will with Diane. But no, let's leave it vague and messy for drama's sake. As for Drew, let's be real, he's not winning any Dad of the Year awards. Zero respect for women. And now he thinks he should get custody of both Scout and Danny? Yeah, no. The kids should either stay with Dante or Alexis. End of story. And back to Christina, because she's impossible to ignore. Look, it's awful what happened to her baby. No one's saying otherwise. But maybe, just maybe, she should stop blaming Eva and start taking a hard look in the mirror. She was emotional, distracted, and dramatic as usual, and let's face it, she tripped, she fell, and a terrible accident happened. Eva didn't push her. Christina needs to stop rewriting history and maybe look at the receipts, or, in this case, the hotel room photos, to see the truth. Oh, and Danny? He's old enough to have a say in where he wants to live. If this custody mess lands in family court, a New York judge is absolutely going to consider his opinion. So buckle up, because this drama isn't going anywhere. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Messy Syrup. It's me, Abby, here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching, so let's dive into today's video. Has anyone else noticed that since Sam's death, she's become the topic of conversation? Every character on the show is mourning her because, let's face it, they're all connected to her somehow. Turns out Sam was a bigger deal to General Hospital than anyone gave her credit for. Ironically, the writers have done more with Sam's story now that she's dead than they ever did when she was alive. Bravo GH, using a tragic death to boost ratings. Classy. And let's talk about this will situation because, honestly, it's ridiculous. Sam made the effort to talk to both Drew and Jason before her death, but she didn't update her will. Really? Diane definitely has a copy of a new will somewhere. There's no way Sam would have left her kids, her property, or Dante's role in their lives unprotected. It doesn't make sense. And Drew raising Danny? Yeah, that's laughable. He was all set to leave for DC, leaving Scout behind without a second thought. Why would he suddenly step up for Danny now? Let's not forget he was pushing to send Scout to boarding school, and the only reason it didn't happen was because Sam put her foot down. Drew, Dad of the Year? Please, he's way too selfish and self-absorbed for that title. As for Alexis, did she really think Jason would just hand over Danny to Drew? If so, that was naive at best. A custody battle is brewing, and Jason isn't the type to back down. You know he'll use every card he has, yes, even exposing Drew's affair with Willow, to keep Danny with him. And Molly and Alexis both said it themselves. Jason is not letting Drew raise Danny, especially when Drew clearly doesn't have a clue how to handle raising Scout, let alone Danny. Both kids are obviously going to end up with Jason. Now on to Christina. The character, and frankly, the actress, can be so grating. Look, Eva's done her share of wrong. but she did not push Christina out that window. Let's get the facts straight. Christina barged into Eva's room uninvited, went on one of her infamous rants, and the situation escalated. Yes, it's tragic that Christina lost her baby, but that was on her. She tripped. It wasn't Eva's fault, and no one's buying her attempt to rewrite the narrative. Immature and unstable doesn't even begin to cover Christina's behavior. And while we're at it, who cares whose bag was on the floor? It could have been anyone's. It doesn't change the fact that Eva had every right to have her things in her room. If this were real life, we wouldn't even be debating custody or Christina's blame game. When one parent dies, custody usually goes to the surviving parent. End of story. But since this is a fictional soap opera, we get to sit back and enjoy the messy drama. Bring on the chaos, GH. Did anyone stop to think that Drew heading to DC as a newly minted congressman isn't exactly family-friendly? Washington is no place for kids. You'd think Alexis, of all people, would realize this and maybe consider stepping up to take them herself. But no, we're barreling straight into another round of poor decision-making. Let's face it, neither Jason nor Drew has been a consistent presence in their kids' lives. Drew is off to play politics in DC, and uprooting the kids for that would be completely unfair. Meanwhile, Jason, he's tied to Sonny's world, and we all know he's not walking away from that. Sam wanted her kids safe and together. Right now, the kids feel settled with Dante, Scout, Danny, and Rocco have bonded like siblings. Dante has a solid support system and could actually give the kids a stable home. Plus, he'd never keep them from seeing their fathers. Maybe it's time for both Jason and Drew to swallow their pride and let Dante take custody. As for Drew, let's not pretend he's the same guy he was before Pentonville. Cyrus changed him. The man's transformation, from the attack in prison to his obsessive fight to get Scout back, was dramatic, to say the least. And don't even get me started on the whole Carly pairing. Big mistake, and now Cyrus, he's still lurking, pulling strings, and causing chaos. He killed Sam, and you know he's about to make another move, probably targeting Lulu next. The whole spiritual reawakening was clearly just an act. Jordan's going to figure it out eventually, and I can't wait for Cyrus's mask to drop. Speaking of soap opera miracles, let's talk about Lulu. She's been in a coma for 4 years, hasn't walked in 5, and yet somehow springs out of bed and starts walking? Sure, it's a soap, but come on. Could we at least make it semi-realistic? 4 years in a coma and she doesn't even have to pee? That's the first thing anyone would do. They showed her liver transplant scar, great detail, but what about the catheter bag? Or the feeding tube? Apparently, Lulu's been defying all known medical science while we weren't looking. And Laura, putting Cyrus in charge? HIPAA violations everywhere. The entire storyline is peaked Dumb and Dumber. On a brighter note, can we talk about the teen actor playing Danny? That kid has been knocking it out of the park this month. He's been so good, he deserves to stick around for a long time. Too bad some of the storylines he's stuck in don't measure up to his performance. This has to be the dumbest, most ridiculous thing I've seen on GH in ages. Seriously, who is paying these writers? Let's break it down. When did Lulu even move to this facility? And now we're supposed to believe that after years in a coma, she's taken off life support and suddenly, boom, she's awake, walking, and ready to bolt. Laughable. Even for a soap, this is embarrassing. No tubes, no muscle atrophy, no signs of major fatigue after a liver transplant. She just wakes up and strolls off like it's no big deal. What's next? A marathon. And where is everyone? Lulu's had years of visitors. Laura, Dante, Lucky, Carly, and now, when she finally wakes up, no one's around. Instead, the one person by her side is Cyrus, of all people. What is he even up to? Whatever it is, you know it's shady. My money's on him being tied to Sam's death somehow. Cyrus always has some sinister plan brewing, and now he's latched onto Lulu. Not good. On a brighter note, Jason's conversation with Danny was perfect. The kid playing Danny is absolutely nailing it. He's level-headed and clear-minded, like the best parts of Jason and Sam, without all the baggage life threw at them. Honestly, he's my favorite of this new generation of kids. Aiden comes in a close second, though. It's going to be interesting to see what's in that Will Diane had on her desk, because you know Sam updated it without telling Alexis. Why involve her in more drama, right? Speaking of drama, let's talk custody wars. Jason fighting Drew for legal custody of Danny is inevitable. Jason knows what Drew's been up to with Willow, and so does Michael. Drew heading off to DC for Congress doesn't exactly scream stable parenting either. Both Jason and Drew need to focus on the kids instead of their egos. Meanwhile, Dante, the unsung hero, is just quietly providing a stable home where Scout, Danny, and Rocco can thrive. Maybe everyone should let Dante take the reins. As for everyone complaining about how unrealistic this storyline is, welcome to soap operas. They're supposed to be unrealistic. If you're looking for real-life logic, maybe GH isn't the place for you. Longtime fans get it. We've been watching wild twists and impossible miracles for decades. This is fantasy, and that's the charm. But let's be real. Even for a soap, this whole Lulu wakes up and walks thing could use a rewrite. Just saying. Did anyone else notice the last will and testament on Diane's desk last week? The camera zoomed in on it briefly during the scene with Alexis in Diane's office. Now Alexis is scrambling, saying she knew Sam had a will somewhere, but really? How does it go from Diane's desk to some unlabeled file box? Go back and look, it's there. The continuity here is questionable at best. Speaking of unrealistic, let's talk about Lulu. Her legs holding her up after years bedridden? Not a chance. The side rails on her bed should have been up too. Basic safety protocol in any care facility. So, unless Lulu has been secretly working out in her coma, this is a major stretch. At best, this is a serious case of suspension of disbelief. And who else caught the inconsistency at Sam's graveside? The grass had already grown over her burial spot in record time, and the flowers Scout left, peonies, aren't even in season. Plus, they're bundled in a way no florist would ever arrange. Come on, GH, these little details matter. The staging shortcuts and corner cutting are glaring, and it's hard not to feel like they're rushing things. Makes you wonder if their time on air is running out. The one realistic thing about Lulu waking up, she had enough sense to know that Cyrus being anywhere near her means trouble. But seriously, where is Laura? After her heartfelt speech at Sam's funeral, you'd think she'd stop by the nursing home to check on her daughter. And lucky? Not a visit in sight, even after his emotional eulogy. Lucas, who's drowning in guilt over Sam, could at least check on Lulu. Aren't they supposed to be cousins? Now, Alexis is deep in her grief, which Nancy Lee Grahn is absolutely crushing, by the way. But let's not ignore the fact that part of her internal debate over Sam's wishes is rooted in something Sam made very clear. She didn't want Alexis raising her kids. That had to sting. Still, when it comes to custody, what Sam wrote in her will may not matter. Both Danny and Scout have fathers, and Jason never relinquished his parental rights. Any attempt to sideline him would mean dealing with Carly and Diane, a battle no one wants. Oh, and let's not forget Lulu remembers exactly what a rat Cyrus is. She even recalls their last conversation. With any luck, someone will come to her aid before Cyrus realizes she's awake. Both Laura and Martin explicitly told Cyrus to stay away from her, but does anyone believe he listened? His creepy good guy act was always suspicious. There's a strong chance Cyrus sabotaged Lulu's ventilator and maybe even had a hand in Sam's death. This guy's never been trustworthy, and his presence near Lulu screams ulterior motives. Let's start with the obvious. All those years in a coma, and Lulu has fantastic legs. Seriously, the muscle tone is flawless. Did her care team secretly have her on a personal training regimen? And that fall, not only was it laughably handled, but apparently her arms are strong enough to push herself up after years of zero movement. I get it, it's a soap, but come on. That said, this is why we love soaps, right? The sheer absurdity is part of the charm. People are out here complaining about how unrealistic this storyline is, but let's not forget, kids age a decade overnight, people randomly discover children they didn't know they had, characters come back from the dead, sometimes with no explanation. And we've even had vampires and aliens. It's ridiculous, and we eat it up. If we wanted cold, hard reality, we'd turn on the news. Let's stop nitpicking and just enjoy the fictional soap opera. Still, I can't ignore how utterly absurd it is that Lulu just got up and walked after years in a coma. No atrophy, no struggle, and didn't Cyrus being her uncle come out after she went into the coma? The timeline is all over the place. As for Alexis, she's clearly grieving, and Nancy Lee Grahn is crushing it with her performance. But it's frustrating that Alexis seems to have selective memory about Jason being a non-factor in Danny's life. Did she forget that Jason and Sam were a couple for years, up until relatively recently? Meanwhile, Alexis starting a custody battle would be a disaster. She'd lose to Jason, no question. Drew? He's a wild card. He doesn't seem ready to be a father and has one foot out the door to DC. Alexis might stand a chance there, but even so, the kid's stability should come first. And then there's the will. Alexis knew the one she saw was outdated. Diane literally told her Sam had a new will, and it was sitting right there on her desk. Diane probably wanted to wait until after the funeral to handle it properly and get all the relevant parties together for the reading. But Alexis digging around like she's uncovering some great mystery. Completely unnecessary. At the end of the day, we all know soaps don't need to make sense, but this whole Lulu storyline and the custody drama are pushing even our limits of disbelief. Still, we'll keep watching. It's what we do. Let's unpack Cyrus' latest god complex. He was experimenting on Nicholas, trying to find a way to bring Lulu out of her coma to score points with Laura and redeem himself for the explosion that harmed her daughter. So naturally, he starts messing with the machines in Lulu's room, causing a malfunction. Classic Cyrus, playing God with people's lives. But then came the ultimate choice. During Sam's surgery, something happened that forced Cyrus to decide: save Lulu and let Sam die, or leave Lulu in the coma. Of course, he chose to revive Lulu. Better for his conscience and a strategic move to get on Laura's good side. Sam's death? Collateral damage. A bonus for Cyrus too, since her loss hurt Jason and Sonny deeply. And as if that weren't enough, having Portia and Julian's son in the room when Sam died just added a layer of guilt for them to carry. It's all so sinister, yet so in line with Cyrus' character. One way or another, though, Cyrus will face consequences. Jason will take him out, or he'll land back in prison. Poor Laura, though. At least she gets her daughter back, and how ironic would it be if Lulu, the investigative reporter, ends up solving this case? On to Eva's trial. Let's talk about the hotel incident and Christina losing her baby. Should Eva be found guilty? I'm firmly Team Eva. From what we've seen, Christina remembers tripping over the bag herself and not being pushed by Eva. If that's true, this was an accident, plain and simple. Eva shouldn't be punished for something she didn't cause intentionally. Christina has a habit of blaming others for her actions, and this seems like another case of that. Eva should be found not guilty. Now, everyone is caught up in the custody drama over Danny, but let's be real, Danny isn't a little kid anymore. Jason is the only one treating him like the young adult he's becoming, ensuring Danny's voice and choices are respected. Jason isn't competing for control or making it about himself. His only concern is what's best for Danny. He's the obvious choice as Danny's guardian, especially given his track record of putting his son first. Meanwhile, Drew says he wants Scout with him, which is nice in theory, but let's not ignore the logistics. He's about to be in DC every week, which is hardly a setup for consistency and stability. Scout needs a home base, not a revolving door. And then there's Molly, who is apparently testifying for Eva. Of course, Christina will lose her mind if Eva goes free, which, let's face it, is exactly what will happen. This is a soap, and nobody goes to prison. Christina needs to own up to her own actions instead of blaming Molly or anyone else. Nobody made her swipe that glass from Rick or march up to Eva's room. She made those choices, and the consequences are on her, not anyone else. The custody debate is heating up, and honestly, the kids should stay with Dante. He's the most stable option, and the kids, Danny, Scout, and Rocco, have already bonded like siblings under his care. Drew's about to be tied up in DC with his congressional duties, and Jason's life is, well, let's just say it's not exactly family-friendly. That said, Jason is right about Danny being old enough to decide where he wants to live. It's important for Danny's voice to be heard, and Jason seems to be the only one focused on respecting his son's choices. Drew, on the other hand, has a lot to answer for. Let's not forget the betrayal with Michael and Willow. Yes, Michael cheated too, but Drew and Willow's actions started it all. Jason is justified in wanting to keep Drew away from parenting Danny. Drew has proven he's not the most reliable figure, and his ego certainly doesn't help matters. Sonny's advice to Jason to fight for Danny makes sense. Danny is Jason's son, and Jason is clearly ready to do whatever it takes to ensure his son feels wanted and supported. Drew can focus on Scout. She needs stability, and with him traveling back and forth to DC, it's clear he can't provide that. Some people are suggesting a compromise. All the kids staying in the same building, with each parent having a penthouse. It's not the worst idea. It would keep the siblings close while giving each parent their space to parent individually. Meanwhile, Michael's in a mess of his own. He needs to come clean about Willow's fling with Drew. He mentioned to Sasha that if he admits to his affair, Willow might walk. But let's face it, she's already got eyes on Drew, so this secret isn't staying buried for long. Back to Sam's will. Did anyone else notice the file labeled Samantha McCall's will on Diane's desk a few episodes ago? Alexis rifling through that random paper box doesn't make much sense if Diane already has the updated version. Maybe Sam made changes to her will before her death. If so, that could throw a major wrench in this custody battle. At the end of the day, Jason seems to be the one acting in Danny's best interests. He's not letting this devolve into a competition. He just wants what's best for his son. If Sam were alive, you can bet she'd be holding Drew accountable for his recent behavior, especially the situation with Willow. Jason's approach feels more aligned with Sam's wishes. Prioritize the kids, not the drama. Why on earth is Alexis taking it upon herself to deal with Sam's will? This is Diane's job. Alexis knows better than to wade into something that's not only legally sensitive, but also so emotionally charged. It feels like a recipe for disaster, not to mention a possible conflict of interest. Why not wait for Diane to handle things? Alexis putting herself in the line of fire like this is just unnecessary. Speaking of unrealistic, let's talk about Lulu. She's been in a coma for 3 years, and now she's just popping out of bed like it's no big deal? Walking, standing, and using her arms to lift herself up, all without any alarms from the monitoring equipment? Where's the medical realism here? The writers are asking for a huge suspension of disbelief, and it's hard to stay invested when the storyline feels this far-fetched. On the other hand, Alexis's emotional arc since losing Sam has been incredible. From the moment she found out Sam was gone, she's delivered such raw, powerful scenes. You can feel every ounce of her grief. If Nancy Lee Grahn doesn't get an Emmy nomination, it'll be a travesty. She's absolutely kicking butt in this storyline. I cry along with her every single time. Now for a theory about Brooklyn and Gio that's stirring up some debate. Some people believe Brooklyn is secretly Gio's mom, and that's why she looks at him with such fondness. But others argue there's an off-screen backstory we're not fully seeing yet. The idea is that Gio grew up in Brooklyn's neighborhood, and everyone treated him like family, kind of like the golden child of the block. His extended found family might explain Brooklyn's maternal behavior toward him. Still, there's something about Brooklyn's connection to Gio that feels personal, like maybe she's keeping a secret. Could it be that she knows she's his mother? Or is it just a result of the neighborhood rallying around him because of his talents and his lack of a father figure? Either way, Gio's charm makes him easy to root for, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree or disagree? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates. Your opinions matter, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.